Wait till people sit down. Well,
That's all right, I can hear it.
I'm recording.
One possibility, I said, was that we left off. One possibility is that maybe the Hitzes were involved in mining in Davos before they moved to Cloisters. And you know there is a family tradition. Katrina Kranstover, who ended up in British Columbia, said that the Hitzes had been in Cloisters 300 years. So they may have moved from Davos to Cloisters in the late 1600s. Maybe they've been mining near Davos, and maybe they moved to Cloisters to do more mining. Who knows? And that would explain if they, started out in Davos, why they had such strong links with the Sprecher family from Davos. Now, one can therefore also raise the question about the origin of the very name Hitz. As I mentioned, family lore has it that it was of Walser origin. But here is the great mystery, and that is that Johannes I was Statthalter for a part of Cloisters. So, there was a lot of romance in Cloisters, and one of the ancestors had been, I'll come to that, also had ties to the Romance part, so that's a big mystery. And the complicating factor is that in Graubünden, the name Hitz is pronounced Hitch. And I didn't know that till we got there. And that was particularly striking when Sprecher gave us the spiel for the tour, and he would refer over and over and over. He would say, Hitch, Hitz, blah, 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 Hitch, he corrected himself over and over, because in that part of the country, it's deeply ingrained that the Hitzes are hitches. And so what does hitch mean? Well, Dr. Arthur Hitz from Appenzell, who was there, said that hitch stands for Christian, a short form. And so there may have been an ancestor, his name was Christian, before they had all the family names, and then out of that came the name Hitch and Hitz. Now, even if the name Hitz was not of Germanic origin, it obviously was given a Germanic interpretation of heat. Now, if the family name Hitz was Germanic, then there's a possibility that it was given to the family also because of its involvement in mining to begin with. And in ore processing, because ore processing, of course, particularly required a lot of heat and fire. You had to have those griddles, those furnaces, those melt pots, and so on. And in German, a person who stokes fires is called a hitzer. That means a stoker in essence. And so it could be that the family name goes all the way back to early generations of ore processing, and even more likely.
how do you spell Hitzer?
Hitz with an ER at the end.
No, but it's a H-I-T-Z-E-H or?
Yeah, ER.
H-I-T-Z-E-R.
Yeah.
H-I-T-Z-E-R.
R.
But they were pronouncing it different, weren't you? Hitcher?
H-I-T-Z-E-R.
Well, Hitzer is German,
Yeah,
but Hitch.
but he was
Right.
pronouncing it Hitcher.
Now, so back, back to how old the name is. So there was a Dr. Arthur Hitz at Davos, and he had done research on the family, and some of that is back there what he found. He found that there was a Hitz who bought 3 pieces of land from what appeared to be a Romansh family in 1428 for the considerable sum of 85 kur gold pieces. And where was that land? It was in the so-called Außerschnitz, or the outer slice of Klosters. That's an area west of Klosters, in contrast to the Innerschnitz of Klosters, which includes Klosters. So Klosters was divided into 2 schnitzes. A female Hitzenkind, meaning a Hitz offspring, was documented in 1495. She was obligated to pay 10 shillings a year in what we would now call taxes to a liege lord for property in the bottom of Davos, quotes, which confirms the family lore of the Davos origin of the family, and also raises the question, was that tax paid to a Sprecher, possibly, And in 1496, there was a Hans Wehrli Hitz, and he was documented to be a Landammann of Klosters. And again, he was documented in 1511, 1517, and he held, there was another Hans Hitz who held the same office in Klosters and in Küblis, probably still the same person, and he was recorded to live in the Außerschnitz. Now this is very significant because the Ammann of the Außerschnitz traditionally had been Rätoromansch. Got it? The Ammann for the Außerschnitz was Rätoromansch. So what was a Hitz doing as an Außerschnitz Ammann? And there's 2 possibilities. One was the Hitz was actually Romansch, and the other possibility is that he was a Walser, but he was so well respected by the Romansch, so well trusted, that they elected him. Those are the 2 plausible, and again, more research is obviously needed. Secondly, the coat of arms probably was not designed during the age of knighthood, but as I said, after the Hitz family went into mining and metallurgy. But it must have been designed before 1829, when the family gave up mining. So one thing that argues very, very strongly for a later date, a Johann I date, is that the crest, as you now see, almost has the order of an advertisement in it. It draws, maybe to draw investors to the mining enterprise. The crest implies promises of great riches, gold, silver, lead. They didn't say anything about tin, there's a possibility, and so on. And Hitz Senior, the American cousins, Hitz Senior was known as a propagandist. Hitz Senior was known as a propagandist. He made such grandiose claims around 1809 about what the Silverberg would produce that the people in Graubünden got panicky that Napoleon would find out what Hitz was saying, and as he was then drawing the maps of Europe, that he would redraw the maps so that Graubünden would fall to France, and he would get all these riches that Hitz said were laying right there in the map.
Great advertising executive.
So, as far as we know, Hitz never found gold. We found very little silver, only a little bit, never enough to, Charles found some, but never enough to be profitable. But as I said, optimism, good luck, you know, hype is an intimate part of the mining culture. So miners, you know, they're just sustained by the hope, by even the imagined certainty that the next stroke of the pick or the chisel or the next turn of the shuffle will reveal the mother lode. And, yep.
On the website, it's dated 1534
For what?
for the hitz topic.
Yeah, but this is not, doesn't say that there was none earlier than that. It just says that at that time, was there. See
Well,
that this is in there.
You have to find a source for that to believe it.
What day is that? 15, so I mean
15.
15.
15, 18, sorry. This is good. That's great.
So, Mark,
That's,
so prove it.
Yeah. But this
Mark,
is.
there's some additional research undertaken by you, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On the website.
You just sign up for that? Okay.
Well,
Well,
let's,
committee.
let's go on before we go back to that.
No, but this
So we don't lose the thread of thought
Or mining of different sort. Or
Okay.
and we get done debating. Take it to the Supreme Court.
But we were already there.
We'll all be dead by then.
It's his behavior.
But they're looking on the
Herding cats.
Yeah.
Its behavior, it's funny.
field.
This would never happen in my classrooms.
No.
Yeah.
Or Mark's.
Can we let Wolf resume?
Yeah, that's great.
That's what they're saying.
Okay.
So, Johann Senior as the propagandist, keep in mind, the von Sales and the von Sprecher knew when to fold their cards. And Johann didn't. He gambled everything he and his family had, and he lost everything. And I give you the painful reminder that the gambler's mentality was also so very obvious in Johann III. You know, John Hitz, who joined the California gold rush. You know, there was that hope of the mother lode around the corner in 1850, and then he gambled away, in essence, a good part of his wife's fortune and disastrous business speculations. So you can see that lily lit run in the family.
Gee.
Also, if the Sagittarius symbol was meant to allude to the 9 siblings of John Hitz, that we may or may not, you know, this would also suggest that the crest was designed during his adulthood. And that brings us to the mystery, who was the designer? Because that would tell us something about the date. And during the Hitz reunion in Davos, something happened that gave me a sudden inspiration who the designer may have been. Someone, and I wish I could remember who, handed out copies of a drawing. Oh, here's our gambler. The bell, you know. And
Thomas Edison.
That was a good gamble, he was Thomas Edison.
and
Wait, back up. I missed that. You said gambler?
I said
Who
gambler.
is that?
John Hitz.
John Hitz, yeah.
And I thought that was Bell, but.
This bell.
This is Thomas Edison.
That's Thomas Edison.
What?
Thomas
It says Thomas Edison.
Oh, sorry.
You know
Yeah,
what?
but it had.
I think they're wrong.
Why would Thomas Edison speak into something?
I think that's
Oh,
wrong.
sorry.
Is it?
Well, this is
Yeah.
supposedly
No,
is
I think
Try
there's
out
John.
bills.
there's You know,
That was a hearing thing.
Maybe that's not a caption.
Remember the Volta
James
River?
Thomas Edison.
Remember the Volta electricity in the Volta?
Edison Valley.
Then they
Oh,
say
got
that's
it.
John. I don't know. That's even in the National Geographic. They say it's John. But anyway,
We may have gotten around.
someone handed this out,
Oh,
and I took one look at it, and I said, "That's probably the sign of the coat of arms," because this has a graphic quality to it. This is the church in Cloisters.
yes, right.
This is
Right.
what became the half house, or was the half house. Right here, standing looking at it, were the doctor house, you know, the museum.
Doctor House, yeah.
And I saw that, and the person in Davos, in the Cloister said in Davos that this was designed by the sister of John II. And that was Magdalena, who was the seventh of the 10 siblings.
9.
That was the second generation, who eventually married
Kinchi.
Paul Kinchi.
Kinchi.
Oh,
Yep. When they moved to America, who, as I said, was 20 years her senior, and the Kinchis who got the Hitzes established, you know, on the dairy farm. And so I said, here's someone with talent in graphics and art, you know, and you know, the architectural element to it. And Magdalena was a woman who was so talented today she would have gotten a PhD and become a professor, you know. And she was a very faithful helpmate to her father John II. John II, however, of course, was also a genius, really. And it's possible maybe he had a hand in it, or the two of them together designed the coat of arms. John II was known also to be a master craftsman, master draftsman, and he was, of course, very well educated. Now, you remember that was the
There's the doctor
house
house.
across the street, and
Yeah.
where my mother visited there many, many times with us. Hans Hitz, who was the brother of her grandfather, was a doctor in Cloisters, and Ida Kaflisch lived there.
Where I lived for 2 years.
Ursula lived, yeah.
Hmm?
I lived there for
You
2 years.
You
With
lived
Tante
there,
Ida.
Kathy's brother.
Tante Ida.
and yeah.
I can't
Yeah.
see you.
And several members of the family lived in my aunt Hartwig Heidi, still works now in New York City, who came to Davos, couldn't come here. She had visited there, and it's from there that picture was sketched.
1938, Ursula?
Yes.
Well, third, as we know now, other branches of the Hitz family took up the crest, and none of us really were aware of its significance or its likely age, and then, you know, we may have assumed that it was of medieval origin, which, as I now say, is unlikely. We'll see what our researchers find out about that. And fourthly,
Excuse me, can I ask a question? I
Well?
noticed, I have a question. I noticed that there's two things. One is, looks like leaves on the side.
oh, that doesn't mean anything. That
Okay,
was-
well, okay.
Decoration.
That was Schnurkelei, as it's called. That would be the mantle loosely cast over it, you see.
Oh, okay, all right. So then the other thing is that the eye space for the night, it looks like a shape of a fish.
Well, yeah,
Is that like
you know,
a fossil or?
you can date an authentic coat of arms. You can often date by the shape of the helmet, which is one more reason why I said that I don't think it's authentic. You know, and not to mention that this is very unauthentic here. you're supposed to have won a tournament, and that is not very likely to have been the case. So anyway, the fact that the coat of arms probably was not authentic and contained a few crimes against heraldry doesn't mean that we shouldn't embrace it. You know, we love it. It's beautiful, and very few coats of arms are so rich, so communicative as this one is. Now, there's a footnote. I'm almost done. There's a footnote that we mentioned that my mother and grandmother still knew John III. In the last few years before his death, in 1908, John III visited Switzerland, I think on more than one occasion, and he dropped in on relatives. My grandparents, Johanna Hitzlöbert and Ottokar Löbert, then lived in Basel. One day the doorbell rang, and my mother was a little girl, answered the doorbell, and there stood a man with a huge beard, and he said the proverbial expression in Europe, "I'm your uncle from America."
We hear that a lot.
Uncle from America. Everybody had an
We
uncle
know,
from
we
America.
hear,
Huh?
I'm your uncle from Switzerland. And I have 12 children in the car.
So, and the biggest thing she remembered was his beard. And my grandmother called him Uncle John. And after returning to America, they kept corresponding with each other. And I'm just hoping that maybe in the Third's papers, there might be copies of their correspondence. You know, I mean, the letters from my grandmother, I hope would be there. So somebody go look. And according to my mother's youngest sister, Hartwig, who now lives in New York, Uncle John sent Johanna, I don't know why, rose pictures. I don't know the significance of that.
what is it?
Rose pictures after the Löbits had moved to Mannheim.
Like for the flower rose?
Yeah. Now, one thing that all of his research documents, very much so, and even what we experienced today and yesterday especially, is the importance of tooling the oral traditions, you know, of the different branches. There are nuggets of historical, treasure hidden in the different branches that need to be gepooled. Gepooled. Okay, now while I have reported both the likely and the conceivable interpretations of the coat of arms, further information done by research would strengthen some hypotheses, maybe confirm some, and then of course perhaps weaken and then discount others. And we need help from Swiss customs. Let's face it, we can hardly do unless Michael Mark comes up with a breakthrough there from this end of the side of the ocean. Now, aside from the symbolism of the coat of arms, it must have been the experience of mining and tunneling by the early Hitz family that must explain the remarkable fact that engineering became one of the main family occupations in the Hans and Konrad branches to this very day. It led first to, as we know, railroad engineering and railroad tunneling by the Konrad branch, and then to road tunneling, and then to other kinds of engineering, and then, you know, including civil engineering, and then computer engineering, and to architecture. And while in this generation, the Hitz-derived engineers and architects are mostly in fields other than railroads and tunnels, they probably nevertheless became what they are because of the tradition of their ancestors. And maybe one final word I want to say to the American Hitz is never forget the poor. Never forget the poor. Okay?
Hello. Hello.
My son was born, and he was a very big boy because he's 6'8" now, and he was about 2 feet then. And we brought him in. He was born in December. We brought him in wrapped in blankets, and he was cold. And my mother-in-law was there, Helena, and she was in the kitchen. So we brought Paul into the kitchen, and so Oma started digging him out of his blankets,
Earth?
peeling him out.
Did you turn on
And
some more
she looked
lights?
at him for the first time, and she said, "Ah!" and clasped her hands. He'll make a wonderful engineer. And guess what?
He did.
Paul's an engineer. He's an electrical engineer.
And if we aren't engineers, we marry them.
Yeah.
They drive us
That's
crazy.
great.
we have some quick pictures. Do you want to go through also?
Yeah,
I think we should do this.
this time. They've all eaten.
Do you want to just get up and
Just quickly go through. Okay.
contact branch? It's very important.
do this now. Wait a minute. Where's Tim?
But Worf,
Martin.
No, you just stick it into the.
thank
Can I take this out?
This is a.
Art
We first want to get out of the.
Okay, go ahead.
First of all, I didn't really know that I was going to do a presentation, so I'm really winging it. Plus, my cousins didn't email me their update, so I'm updating you on the family of C. Albert Hitz. He was a son. C. Albert was, my grandfather, Christian Albert, and he had 3 daughters. He was also, very interestingly, an attorney, which is the other side of the branch of the family, a politician, and he was in the Communist Party. While his cousins in America persecuted the communists, my grandfather was actually a very active communist, knew Lenin, and he was an idealistic communist. He had 3 daughters, Ursina, Verena, and Charlotte. Now, Charlotte, I start with the youngest one. She, you met her last time, she still lives in Solio. She used to live in Silva Plana. I was there for her 92nd birthday this summer. And she's doing well. She has a daughter called Katarina, whom you all remember because Katarina organized with you the HITz convention the last time. Gonzales, yeah.
Yes.
Charlotte married the Gonzales.
Yeah, Charlotte married the Gonzales. But there are lots of Gonzaleses, so that's not necessarily a connection with the Gonzales from here. So Katarina has also retired. She lives now in Silva Plana, but she's not retired. She's heavily into local politics. That's one of the reasons also she couldn't get away. She knows she was a professor of geology at the ETH. Her husband is sometimes up there, sometimes he plays golf because they have that 3rd child they could take care of too. She has 3 daughters. One is Nina, who is getting married in August 22nd, and that's why I'm going back. Then Christina, who is now she lives on her own. She's enjoying life, and her father is still kind of looking after her. And then Sabine, who graduated #1 at the ETH, and she does environmental sciences. Now, I don't know everything exact because I was expecting an email, I didn't get it, so I don't, but that's the gist of the Charlotte family. So there might be eventually a 5th generation there. We
Actually,
don't know.
Sabina is also my godchild.
Is your godchild. She is a beautiful, wonderful girl. Then we have Verena, who was the 2nd, and she was an eye surgeon, and she had 2 children. Now that was very unusual in that generation to actually be a professional. And the reason why she became an eye surgeon was she studied law for 1 year and was told that she would never get a judgeship. So she switched over, as a woman, she would never get a judgeship. So she switched over to eye surgery.
How old is she?
She's 94. 94, and a month ago I took Tante Frena in the train up to Tante Huck, Charlotte, to celebrate Charlotte's 92nd birthday.
Oh, really?
And
Wow.
I kind of observed these two sisters, you know. It's still there, the rivalry, and what is going on back in life. And I sit there and I say, am I going to be like this with my sisters? Because here we come very quickly. No, the Verena I have to go into. She has 2 children. Fritz made the presentation last year. You remember him?
Yes.
Yeah.
Fritz, he was fantastic.
Yes.
He has 2 children. Simon, who made a stab at politics but didn't succeed, but that doesn't mean it's not going to continue then eventually. He's still young. And Sarah, who is gorgeous, independent, and not anything like any of the Stöcklis. I mean, she's exuberant and she is wild. So Sarah, I don't know yet, she doesn't look like she's getting married. She's working with a cosmetic company.
So she's a hitz.
She's also a hitz, yeah.